This is the First Amendment of our Constitution. And earlier tonight, I heard from this council, we don't need to reaffirm our oath to maintain the Constitution at all. We do that every day. So, let me read it to you. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or prohibition of free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. I also want to point out that RAV versus the City of St. Paul, 1992, deemed it unconstitutional to ban hate speech. And that's what this item actually talks about, is any speech that, contains profanity, slurs, hate speech, which I guess we'll define later on. That's what we're basically saying here. We're going to take the First Amendment here on the Worcester City Council. We're just going to throw it in the trash because whatever we don't like is deemed hate speech. In fact, in the last 6 months, we came up with some new rules on this council, Rule 21, Rule 35, limiting the debate on city council. And we just sent an item to the Rules Committee, chaired by the same councilor who brought this item forward, to limit public participation in our meetings. I mean, let's go through the First Amendment again. I mean, where else is the public going to be able to readdress their grievances, if not there? Now, we're going to limit items perceived as hate speech, which is deemed by, one person's hate speech is another person's party platform in this world. It's unconstitutional. This item is unconstitutional from the get-go. But we've already talked about how we're apparently, I guess from what I've heard from the council that brought it forward, as he was sort of amending it as he was going along. There's nothing formal, but this is what's before the council right now, is to violate the First Amendment. And reflecting on my experience with this council, I have to address the hypocrisy here. When the Worcester Police Department was here and they were viciously maligned by the BLM group, no item was brought forward then. Nobody protected them at all. Twice, I heard from them. They came in. I had a reverend come and accuse me of being, not only am I being accused of being everything on earth, to include racist, anti-Semitic. I had someone say that I hate children. It's ridiculous. But no item came forward at that point. Now here we are. Somebody, there's some articles that were included, which I'll get to in a minute, in the city manager review. Nothing I wrote, but the articles were included. We don't like what came out on my review of the city manager's evaluation, and now that's hate speech. Is what it is. Not only that, we also recently discussed the fact that some well-known members of the public came in, had some discourse at a subcommittee meeting, and what do? We've got to have public protection now at the subcommittee. We've got to have the police at the subcommittee meetings. And the person that requested it was actually the same person that didn't support them when the BLM group was in here, calling them racist, when they did a song about the racist Worcester police. And that's the person that asked for protection at the subcommittee meetings. So now we all swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. We know that. And that happens whether it's convenient to you or not. You cannot ban free speech. Petition the government, we're trying to limit that. I've already discussed it. We refused to vote on a couple items otherwise tonight because we deem them not within the purview of the City Council. I would suggest that an unconstitutional act would be not within the purview of the council. And now we're going to decide, who's going to decide what language we can and can't use? There's the question. Who here? Is it going to be a subcommittee that says what language can be used, what language could be filed? Should every item be reviewed by that subcommittee? We don't exactly have an impeccable track record, do we, with regard to defending First Amendment rights, do we? I mean, I think there's a $1.2 million attorney's fees for the other item that when we tried to ban the panhandlers. So that's great. We talk about worried about lawsuits and inviting lawsuits. We want to do something that is already, the Supreme Court has already ruled it's unconstitutional. Again, RAV versus City of St. Paul, 1992. But let's go ahead and move forward on that. Let's say we're going to ban hate speech because, hey, we feel like doing it. So that'll be another maybe $1.2 million we could just dole out right away. And on that, I'm not even get into that. The fact of the matter is this really kind of boils down to freedom of the press. I use multiple sources in my review. Now, if I hadn't used multiple sources, if I had just 20 pages with what I wrote, the rest were just the articles that were attached to it. And by the way, the official record, it's all redacted, but that is what it is. But the fact of the matter is we didn't like who wrote the articles. That's what this comes down to. I used Worcester magazine extensively in it, and the irony of that is that I actually read an article where they said that I included a picture just randomly. I think it was in Worcester. That picture was actually in the Worcester magazine article, so apparently they don't even read their own paper. But the fact of the matter is, this is really about the fact that there were some articles in there from Turtle Boy Sports. That's the truth of it. They're a media network that's grown from nowhere to, I think they got about 36,000 followers on Facebook. And you know what? They say some things are uncomfortable. And yes, they include very colorful language. It is what it is. But the swearing, that's the issue. There was swearing in there, which I didn't write. I just included the full articles. I'll get to that in a moment. But Michael, there's swear words in that article. You know, and I think, you know, to do my best Rick Russian impression, here we are watching the football game. It's a Super Bowl. It's the Patriots. It's Tom Brady. He's playing against New York Giants. He throws the ball downfield. Wes Welker should be an easy first down. Move the ball. Wes drops it. I'm sure everybody at home was watching that day said, oh, golly, gosh darn. No, they didn't. You know, give it up. I'll apologize for this much. You know, when I was younger, I worked in a factory. Was around that kind of language all the time. I go out in the real world now. You know, where I go, people use colorful language. You know, I don't go to the same parties where people drink martinis with their pinky up. That's not what happens, and that's not the real world either. You know? Now, if I hadn't included my evaluations, the documentation to back it up, I would have been blasted. I would have heard Gaffney made it all up. You know, but no. I went to whether it was the Worcester Magazine, the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, I think the Worcester Herald, I quoted Jordan Levy. I mean, the sources were all over the place. And if I hadn't put them in then into the evaluation, it would have been, oh no, this is all just coming out of him. He's just. But I used their language to prove my case. Simple as that. Now, if I had changed the content, then I would have heard that I colored the content concerning the articles, and would have heard probably the same sort of nonsense as well. So I simply left the article in there for the reader to judge. And there's the thing. So if you say, well, I don't like this, and I think this article is crap, well, if you don't like the fact of the language in it, maybe you'll make that assumption. And that's fine. Does it help? Does it hurt? It doesn't matter to me. That's the way the article is. That's the way I left it. I didn't take myself to redact other people's work. It speaks for itself. In some cases, maybe it helped, maybe it didn't. But at least I didn't color it. It is what it is. The document spoke for itself. And the fact of the matter is, yes, Turtle Boy uses profanity to convey its message. Of course, for some reason, 36,000 people follow the local blog just on Facebook alone. So apparently not everybody in the city of Worcester is easily as offended as some people here on city council. But again, this really isn't about, you know, banning free speech or any of those other things. We're just upset because my evaluation of the city manager didn't get us to roll into this month trying to extend his contract. That's the fact. Simple as that. You know, what really gets to me about that, though, is that right from the very get-go in my evaluation, I point out the fact that we were told things. We were told things at the Senior Center. We were told things over at the Jewish Community Center, that things were being done here in the city of Worcester concerning crime, that we were taking all these actions. And I put right in there another item, which I guess seems to be okay, concerning and of course, it was on the mayor's website that we're taking these actions to, and I put an article in from the chief of police, then Gary Jem, indicating we didn't do any of that. But we get all these excellent reviews, not even paying any attention to the fact that less than a total accounting what was going on was being portrayed.
We're over 10 minutes, so that's enough.
I will wrap up momentarily. Just leave it with this. The efforts to stifle debate and public input over the last 6 months have been disappointment and cannot continue. Freedom of speech defines our democracy. It cannot be limited because you don't like its tone or its tenor. We continue to walk down this path of trampling on the Constitution and to limit any debate about actions of this council. If you can't handle the pressure of public discourse, and I say this as I've handled it multiple times, then you simply don't belong in this public office. As the city manager says, to be crystal clear, the same councilors moving this item and talking about the tone of public debate are same ones that enlisted the aid of those that have come to council and said the most vile things they could about me. Our police and our public servants. My motion is to file this item. Thank you.
Okay. We have